Hi, everybody. How you doing? It's Matt Graham here with a very special episode of the King and Weaver podcast. I'm here with my guest, Kris Phippen of Phlippen Great Sauces, the condiment that makes conversation. And we're right here in front of the grill. We're going to do something different today. We've never done this on the show before. We're going to try to grill some food and make some Phlippen Great barbecue.
Love it.
Kris, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much.
I've got some stuff out here today, but the feature is really your sauces.
Yeah.
Now, you're a KW boy, right?
I am a KW boy. Yeah.
Born and raised.
Born and raised. I was away for maybe 2-3 years, kind of over my time in Toronto, but you know, classic broken home. So we you got to do what you got to do. So yeah, Kitchener, born and raised, Shepherd. I went Sandown Public School, Shepherd Public School, Cortland for grade 7, Toronto grade 8, 9, back Grand River to finish up high school. So
you did a full tour,
full Phlippen tour. Yeah,
got a good look around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how long have you been in business?
2018 we incorporated. So I kind of started like late 2017, early 2018.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
So you're 7 years in business.
Yeah,
it's hard to believe, right?
Yeah, it totally is. Yeah. It's been a lot, quite a journey for sure.
Now, before we keep talking, I just want to let everybody know we've got a couple steaks here, a nice couple of 28-day AAA ribeyes from courtesy of Dean Co., as well as some beautiful skinless chicken breast that's in a jerk marinade, and one we're doing straight up. We're going to put these on the grill. Let's go. Before we do any more talking, I thought maybe we should put them on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah. I'll let you be the chef. I'm going to watch today.
I'm not a chef, but all right. Get a bit of heat here somewhere.
So we're going to let those just slow cook. We're not putting them on the direct heat.
Yeah. It's always nice when you can get this nice outdoor charcoal grill.
It's a bit more effort to be sure, but yeah, it pays off.
Yeah, absolutely. Takes you back. That smell takes you back to the cottage, the old Weber grill that your dad would fill with lighter fluid.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So we've got the chicken breasts on. There's a jerk marinade on these right now, on 2 of them, and then that's from your Phlippen Great jerk sauce.
Yeah.
The other one we're going to try to glaze a little later on with what, the sweet with heat or the best Phlippen hot sauce?
Yeah, whatever you guys want to do. I mean, sweet heat is amazing on chicken for sure. I think all of them are. It just depends what you like. I think the sweet heat caramelizes nice on the grill. So let's do that.
Beautiful. Love it.
Awesome.
Sounds good to me. Now, how does somebody just suddenly get into the sauce business? It doesn't happen by accident, does it?
Well, yeah, it could be a million different reasons, I'm sure. Mine was a little different. So I was a young dad. I had my daughter when I was 17. And
wow.
Yeah, just a little. So me and my girlfriend at the time had our daughter out of high school, and I just kind of, School of Black and Blued it all the way up to wherever I thought I needed to be in my life, and that ended up being in corporate sales. And I was traveling probably 3 weeks a month for a couple of years straight, and missed out on a lot trying to keep up with the boys and the vehicles and the houses and all the BS stuff that doesn't matter, I guess.
Doesn't fill your cup.
No, it certainly does not. But my stepdad, since I was a young boy, suddenly passed away in January of 2017, just 2 weeks after his 60th birthday. Wow. And that was, you don't see that stuff coming, and it really just opens your eyes to life is short, and you just kind of never know. So through that process, I think it was just realizing that I didn't want to be gone. I didn't want to chase the things that didn't matter, and my family was important to me, and I'm honestly not sure. I don't have the culinary background. I love to cook. I have a hatred for liquid smoke, and I decided to grab some veggies from the market, throw them on the smoker, and on the garage floor, had a hot plate and whatever else, and just kind of came up with something. And went inside and quit my job, and that's how
batch. You made one batch of sauce and said,
yeah, I made 10 sample jars out of the garage, and within a week I went and found a co-packer to help manufacture the sauce and the product, and made sure the website was available. That was key.
Had you ever made sauces before?
No, I haven't.
Never before. You just like, I'm just going to make sauce. I'm going to make a great sauce.
Yeah. That's actually true. Yeah. So, goofing around at the barbecue, us guys, whatever, play around and make your own barbecue sauce and
for sure,
and little rubs and stuff like that. But I never wanted to be a barbecue sauce, because I feel that a barbecue sauce, you're kind of pigeonholed, for 6 months of the year. And what came out of what I created in the garage became this crazy, super versatile condiment, basically. So, some call it an ingredient, a dip, a spread, a sauce. I actually don't even like calling it sauce, because it just does so many other things. So,
well, most barbecue sauces, in particular from the United States, they're a ketchup base.
Sure. Yeah, ketchup and a lot of sugar.
Yeah, there's definitely ketchup. There's usually a lot of molasses, brown sugar. Are any of those ingredients part of what you're doing, or?
Yeah, we have some sweetener in there. So we use honey. So we have some natural local honey, natural sweetener, and then we do use a bit of brown sugar, but not much at all. Local, tomato, garlic, onion. It's all hand smoked by myself. As I said, I was there this morning with a big batch for a run on Monday. So we're hand.
I'm not trying to get you to give away your secret recipe. That's not what we're doing.
No, but that's what we do. That's what makes us different. And most people are just, you add liquid smoke, you get that flavor of, hickory or whatever you're looking for. I just decided that I don't like that. And if you smoke things right, you don't get that super smoky taste. So I just wanted to keep going by hand. So it's kind of just sets us apart and makes us a bit more unique, obviously.
So you said you had a corporate sales background.
Mm-hmm.
So has that really helped you?
Well,
in terms of getting the product out on the market, because making a batch of sauce and then getting it to market are two totally different things. And getting people to put them on the shelves. In the grocery business, that's pretty competitive for shelf space.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, in the sauce game, it definitely is. I mean, there's new sauces coming out every day, and there's been a zillion before me and probably a zillion after me. But I figured that, we have a story to tell, and I think just being unique, we're not, like I said, we don't sit in a category. And so I think to have something different, that you can educate people on and drive the brand through, it was kind of easy. We were selling, in corporate sales. I was national sales manager for an occupational health testing company. We were selling, drug and alcohol testing to DOT truck drivers and out in the oil sands and things like that. So from that to barbecue, or that to sauce making is very different, but
no question about that.
I mean, just having a friendly personality and a good network of local people. I mean, the city definitely drove this brand through the roof. I think we were in 30 something retailers in my first 2 months.
And how'd you do that? How were you able to get into 30 stores?
I walked in with a jar of sauce and got them to open it up and try it, and I guess I don't know. I guess they liked it.
So are those mostly smaller stores, or are we talking big retailers?
No, so we're in a majority of the smaller independent stores. I really love that. We built awesome relationships, like the Vincenzo's and Centrals and Brady's Meats and all the butcher shops and cheese shops and things like that. And once you start to figure out versatility, you can really go into any store, into any area of the store. And I think that, if anybody picks up on it for any use, then we have a win, right? So we started out with all small local independent stores, got that number pretty high. And then we were approached by the Keg restaurant. So we were in the Keg across Canada and the US.
Beautiful.
As an ingredient. So the smoking of the sauce and that process that we were able to achieve with how we build out the sauce then was just something that they weren't willing to do in-house. And that kind of was amazing. And as quick as that started, it was ended by a global pandemic. And so
the good old pandemic, eh? Changes everything.
Oh yeah. Just when you think you made it, we were really successful with the keg, and we were looking at being a full-time menu item, and it was just an awesome thing. We got with a huge food distributor, Cisco, and kind of fast tracked through there, and it was a big learn for sure. So,
what were some of the lessons you can pass on?
Well, I don't know how you could ever forecast for something like that. I mean, we're have a bigger smoker than what I had, because I had about 25 or 30,000 pounds of onions and garlic to smoke on two cast iron pans on a residential smoker. So
God, how did you keep up? Will you be smoking 24 hours a day?
Yeah,
like you would never
much.
stop?
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it felt, for sure. It was definitely like 2 weeks of just pure smoking in and out, just pan to pail. So yeah, it's I don't know, oftentimes you get into your love and passion of smoking a piece of meat for 15 hours, and then to switch over to just onion and garlic that you're dumping in a pail, it kind of takes the joy and the fun out of it. But I mean, you could be doing worse things than standing at a smoker, right? So it was also a healing, it was healing, like spending time playing with fire, watching smoke, and keeping your eye on things, and just kind of spending that time in a weird way was therapeutic as well, right? So
were you working alone?
Yeah. I've been on my own. I've had a couple of helpers. Sorry about that. I had a couple of helpers, with the business, but operationally just really needed to kind of beef up, and that's where we're at now. So we had launched out into Sobeys. We got picked up by Loblaws across Ontario, and just really realized how operationally stronger I needed to be. And you can get involved with them, and they could ruin you pretty fast if you're not prepared. And I think it was just all these roads that I've taken for the last 7 years, are learning lessons. Come back, as I said, I've never done this before, so you come back and you learn and you rebuild and you push forward. So
amazing. Well, it's quite the story. You're really you're bootstrapping this thing one bottle at a time, one batch at a time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But how many employees are you up to now?
Well, one. We're almost. No, sorry, we're two. We got a salesperson, and I got somebody helping me out on the operational side. So we're rapidly about to start to grow, which is really exciting for me.
Yeah, it sounds exciting. Yeah. And it is. You don't want to get pigeonholed into being a barbecue sauce. I understand that, but this is a grilling and smoking season.
Yeah,
it's warmer weather. People are cooking more, cookouts more friends coming over, more people to impress.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I love that, and we obviously can focus on the grilling and what you can do with the products throughout the summertime, and then kind of switch into comfort foods and things like that coming into fall and winter.
Now, your last name is Phippen.
That's right.
The name of the brand is Phlippen.
Yeah.
Now, was this a play on words that had been happening for a long time in your life, and people called you?
No, I wasn't. I had a totally different nickname in high school, but it was actually my little brother and I. As this was kind of developing, we had chatted about something for me and him to do in the future, and it was just kind of like, well, let's just kind of lock this down now, and Phlippen is just the perfect sub word for any curse, right? So keep it family friendly, and if you get it, you get it.
It's very Canadian of you.
Yeah. Very polite.
We're gonna keep it polite. We're gonna keep
That's right.
G-rated. Okay, we gotta flip something here.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel
maybe we gotta get a little more.
I want to get a bit more heat here. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Perfect. I was wondering that too, but I'm letting you be the chef. We'll get the ribeyes on in a few minutes.
Absolutely.
But they're looking good. Very excited. You call this the condiment that creates conversation. Where does that come from?
So I think, when I first started this, I kind of got in this rabbit hole of, maybe proving people wrong, and look at stores we're in, and this is what we're doing. And it was just, it wasn't how I wanted to, kind of portray what I was doing. And I wanted to find purpose in not just building, a sauce business, but a brand. And I think the important thing that we've gotten to now is really, I know that I've kind of suffered, from mental health, just from, things that we all go through, and struggles, and family, and obviously losing somebody close, and that's not the only person we've lost, and
You're talking about your stepdad.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. And we lost a really good friend a couple of years before that, and throughout the last few years, just really building purpose around vulnerability and opening up around the conversation that, it's okay for us to to be talking. I mean, I it's such a stigma that I think is so silly, because 90% of people that I talk to, they're going through something. And us men are kind of taught not to speak, and to keep things bottled up, and just show up when everybody else needs us, right? And I just find it important that I tell my story, and hence why my face is on the jar. It's not to, hey, look at me. It's more just, it's a recognizable, relatable, everyday guy that's just doing something different, but isn't scared to talk about, the real issues and struggles that we all go through. So
When you say real issues, what do you mean?
being a partner, being a dad, being an entrepreneur, just life in general. I think it's endless, right? Whether it's financial struggles, whether it's, beliefs in what's happening in the world right now. And I just feel that everybody's kind of at this, I don't know, maybe a bit lost, and feeling alone. And it's just time that, we're not, million followers of people, but I have built a platform and a strong community. And I think, as long as we're advocating for that, and continue those conversations, then that's the important piece for me.
Well, I agree. No, just, we don't know each other. This is the first time we've ever met. I've shared on this program before, and I've told plenty of people before. Myself, in the past, I struggle with alcoholism. I've been sober for 15 years now.
Congrats.
Thank you very much. It's probably the greatest decision I ever made, was to put the plug in the jug.
Sure.
But quitting drinking and overcoming addiction of any sort is so much more than just putting a plug in the jug.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of work that has to be done, and it's something that I continue to do to this day. And part of what I do is I belong to a program that helps me out, and part of that program includes a lot of group therapy. So when I work with other guys and other people are helping me, or I'm helping them, it's all through conversation.
Right.
We don't do it alone. The whole idea is I can't do anything, but we can.
That's right. Yeah.
Together we're stronger. And I totally believe in this idea of, we have to make ourselves vulnerable to somebody.
Yeah.
You have to show your vulnerability somewhere. It's a release valve. And I think that's actually a bigger part of being a man that I don't think does get taught. There is, I still think, though, too, a time and a place for us to do that. Like, we don't always want to be doing that in the public spotlight. Necessarily, you don't want to put your dirty laundry out there for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important to get that at least one-on-one, or some form of a group talk where you can share your ideas, share your feelings and emotions, and work through things with another person.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people, I don't know, when I really started to tell my story, I found it was a lot of women messaging, just saying, I wish my husband or partner would open up about some of these things, because I just don't know. And I would respect that, and I would know how to deal with things a little differently. And I think that's a huge piece, right?
It's been my experience. Now, I'm not a psychotherapist by any means. But it's been my experience that for men, it's really important to talk to other men. And for women to talk to other women, and I say that only because quite often we're able to call each other out on our bullshit. Like if we're hiding something, one man can catch another man in it, and one woman can catch another woman in it, perhaps a little more, and can provide a little more perspective. That's just always been my experience. So I try to work with a lot of other men. I don't share with other women. I think that there's some great women that work together. It seems to be when men work together with one another, we can really get to help.
Yeah.
To find that serenity that we're all looking for. I think that's the word. Serenity is, I'm not saying joy, I'm not saying happiness, I'm saying serenity.
Yeah.
Serenity is a sense of calm that whether things are good or bad today, overall things are going to work out. Things are going to be just fine. I need to just work through this, experience this, feel this. That's one of the things that we hate to do, right? We hate to feel.
Yeah.
I know myself personally, like when I struggle feeling bad, when I drank, that's where I ran to. It was my solution to feeling bad.
Mm-hmm.
It was also my solution to feeling too good.
Yeah.
Emotions were just something that I was afraid of, so
Sure.
I would try to dilute them with something like alcohol.
Yeah, that's right.
And but when I lost that solution, eventually the problem with addiction is eventually the solution becomes just another problem.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when you finally do quit that, you lose your solution. And what I've learned over years and years of work is the only solution is to work through it, is to talk to somebody about it, to recognize my part in it, and then to find forgiveness for the others.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I think, I can only speak from my own experience, and I'm sure the same for you. And I haven't drank for almost a year. I have struggled with that myself, and definitely ran to that for so many reasons, right? Life of the party guy and all the things. And, it was just another one of those things where if I really want to take a deep dive into myself and, whether it's paying attention to fitness and physical, exertion for, your mental health or to clear your head and things like that, I really adapted to that and started to get into some other, really cool things that are just new to me and different, and just having the mindset that, I'm kind of willing to do whatever it takes to feel okay and just to keep on pushing. Right. So,
well, there's so many factors. I'm not here to say that depression doesn't exist, because
Sure.
it definitely does.
Yeah.
And we should throw on, use a little bit more jerk sauce and a brush. There's so many other factors. When we're, whoops.
Yeah, rock star.
There we go. We've had our first blooper of
Hey.
the, we're going to edit this out. Don't worry.
That's all right. Hey, it happens. It's just real.
Sometimes you get a little sauce on the grill.
Yeah, that's right.
But
It'll smell good anyway.
what I tell a lot of guys is, yes, depression exists. Yes, clinical depression exists, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not eating properly, if you're not getting enough sleep, and if
Yeah.
you're not exercising, you're not even giving yourself a chance.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I always call it just, people are just sitting in your own filth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can sit there and talk about the things that aren't working and that you're not doing and why, and try and figure that out. But until you really start to put yourself in it and put the work in, it doesn't happen, right? And I know those days where you don't want to move, you don't want to get out of bed, and it's crippling, right? But at the same time, it's, if you can just get to that moment and just find that window in your day, it definitely helps, right? Just change.
Showing up is half the battle.
And showing up. Yeah, exactly.
Just being present is half the battle.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've picked up in the last few years is just down the street from here is Return of the Dragon Martial Arts Studio.
Right.
And they have a co-ed kickboxing class at noon hour. There's classes all day long, but the one I particularly go to is the noon hour class. It's just a perfect break in my day.
Yeah.
I've dealt with things in the morning. I do a lot of work in the morning mentally to get myself ready. I go for a walk, I say some prayers, I meditate, just get myself centered so I'm proactive in the day, not reactive.
Right.
Then I start my day, I get into my work, the world comes at me. There's usually, if your business is anything like mine, there's a million challenges to deal with.
For sure.
But at midday, that chance to just go, to sweat, to go hit the bag.
Yeah.
And it's such a great release.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a great way to sort of empty your mind.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you, when somebody's trying to punch you in the face, you can't think about anything else. You
Yeah.
can't be worried about that order that's got to get through.
That's
You've
right.
got to protect yourself from that next punch.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So anybody that's out there, I significantly recommend, or I sincerely recommend looking into martial arts, looking into kickboxing. I found it hugely useful. Is there any hobbies that you got outside of smoking meats?
Well, I like to go to the gym, and I love my walks. I mean, walks have been awesome for me.
I agree,
They're
100%.
They're the best, honest to God. And I told my girls that, you know, they're at that age, they don't want to really do that and put the work in to fix it, right? Rather just tell me about them. But you know, I don't know. I think the walks are amazing. It's music on, head down, and I go. And a lot of the time I try and find some water, and that seems to be a really good release.
Hard to do in this city.
Hard to do. Yeah, hard to do. Clean, nice smelling water. Yeah, for sure.
Can I just check something real quick? I just want to make sure your mic's on. Yeah, sorry, I just had to double check.
Yeah.
Checking for the little light on there. We want to make sure everybody can hear you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do at least 1 kilometer to 5 kilometers a day of walking. At this point in my life, I say to Aaron and to my wife, I said, they're not for my physical health anymore. They're for my mental health.
Yeah.
That's where I go. That's where I talk to God.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was a big turn for me too, is when I really started to show what I was doing on the physical side. It really was a mental drive. Like, yeah, sure, I can lose some pounds, and I'd like to continue to do that. But at the same time, it really was more of a mental thing for me, and just the clarity and getting that window, right? Like, you can stare at your shoes for an hour. 10 minutes in, you're thinking of every shortcut you can take to get home, and I'm not going to go that long today, and my feet are sore, whatever. But you know, after 5K, you could go for 20. And I honestly,
you've just got to get past that wall, right?
That's right.
There's that wall that we've got to go overcome.
Yeah.
So let's move these chicken around. Let's get some steak on the grill.
Yeah, sure.
These ones might need a little longer.
These might be good for breakfast burritos.
Breakfast burritos tomorrow. But we're going to put some steak on. I'm going to get out of the way.
I just want to move this.
Sure.
Open this up a little bit.
This is part of the fun of working with charcoal.
Yeah, that's right. If you have the time, right? I think COVID, everybody was against pellet smokers until COVID. And then everybody had time to actually stand at the smoker and play with fire and do the thing.
Have a little fun.
Yeah. Oh, these look beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Kelly Dean of Dean Co.
Got a meat sponsor. I like that.
Can we see those on the grill, Aaron? Beautiful. All right. So those ones, how do you like your steak? I'm a medium rare kind of guy.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I like a little pink on there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's no ketchup.
So we've got the chicken we're keeping for everybody, so everybody can see, we're keeping the chicken off the direct heat as much as possible. We want it to slow cook so it'll get through to the center. Where the heat's the hottest, that's where we've just laid the ribeyes. Once these cook up to a nice medium rare, what kind of sauce do you usually put with that?
I don't. It's funny. I don't put any sauce on my steak, but for today, I want more about your experience and you to kind of go through them and try them. They all work. It just depends on what you like. I mean, the hot is more of they're all flavorful hot, nothing, kind of blow your face off hot.
Nothing going to make me cry today?
No, you're not going to cry.
That's good. I appreciate that.
I'm here to talk if you do.
We could talk it out. We can talk it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. It depends what you like. I mean, the jerk obviously on the chicken, sweet heat. I often feel like I sound like a used car salesman because it's really everything, anything in or on it, and it's just really down to preference, right?
So you were saying earlier you were getting a lot of emails from people and messaging from people with regards to men's mental health, and is that coming directly from this barbecue sauce, or excuse me, from your sauces?
It's yeah, for sure. It's coming through the brand. There was a lot of contention kind of around, product and personal journey, and well, you're not the sauce, and that you just kind of keep those things separate. And yeah, so through the brand, I really got vulnerable. I kind of opened up. I stripped down to the undies and said, here's me. this is the guy behind the face.
And how did you do that?
I literally got down to my undies and posted it on our social media, and just said, kind of, here I am, and I struggle, and everything from the outside maybe isn't as easy as you think, and we've built a platform and a community, and I really want to start to utilize that and start to, I don't know, it's funny. I'm a pretty humble guy, so I don't see what people say and think about the brand, all that much, but I know that it is a lot bigger than I think it is. I think that what we've built around our community is definitely a strong following of people that will, in turn share their stories. And you're right. A lot of people don't want the open forum of having those conversations, and, whether it's admitting or sharing their, their dirty laundry, so to speak, like you said. But, the more people that actually get down to it and just say, like, yeah, it's not a big deal. Like, I'm struggling. It's not that hard. I don't understand why it is.
So what are some of the comments that you're getting on social?
A lot of it is just keep going is probably the number one. Number two is just, there's a level of I don't know how to word it. There's like a level of respect maybe that I've gained from being vulnerable. I think there's the realness of who we are as a brand, and what we want to stand for and advocate for has become big, and really it's just encouragement and thank yous, and I wish that this person would do that. And I think the more I can do it and stick to my word, it's hard when I'm down. It's the most important time for me to share, because I'm showing up for other people. Oftentimes I find it difficult because I'm not showing up for myself in that moment, and then everything is good and I'm back to my exercise and walking, and then I'm back on the camera. But it's the in between that I really want to get better at, and open up more, and build this community stronger, where it normalize something that's not normal, but it's the most normal thing out here.
And sometimes when we're down, one of the greatest things that we can do, in my opinion, again, is to get out of self.
That's right.
To try to get out there and help somebody else.
Yeah.
What can I do to make someone else's day better? What can I do to make my community better?
Yeah. And that, once I shed the fear of what everybody was going to say, or I thought they were going to say, or how they would react, and we're literally helping people, and I'm getting those messages where they are the thank yous, and they are, I started to do this, and holy shit, I better start taking care of myself, and I better, put some attention on me and make the time for myself, and start to kind of whittle down the excuses, right? When we're down, it's everything in the world is in front of you, right? You have a busy work day, you have kids at home, I have dinner to make, I have all these things. Well, I have a solution for you, because throw this on any leftover and you're in and out of the kitchen in 2 seconds.
Dinner's done. Just put this on a leftover.
Yeah, that's right. And then, get on with it. But, we can all make time, and you get up an hour earlier, go to bed an hour later. I don't know. But for me, I'd rather get up at, 4 a.m. if I had to go for my walk, start my day, and, I don't know.
Do you have a faith that works for you? You're a religious guy?
I'm not committed how I would like to be, I don't think. It's definitely been a topic of discussion for me and my wife, and it's prevalent.
What do you mean by that? Just the discussion? What do you mean? Do you mean just the discussion?
Yeah, the discussion, and just starting to back ourselves up with a bit more faith, and Amy's a very spiritual manifestation, energy, these types of things, and I've kind of adapted some of that, and some I haven't. So it's
some of the best peace that I've come to in my life, I can say, is when I realized that there is a God, and it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of the pressure off of me.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to solve the world's problems. I'm not God.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, there's someone else, like God doesn't need me. I need God.
Right.
And the more that I lean on what I choose to call God, the better off I am.
Sure.
And it started very simple. It started very simple as like, you know, I had a friend who told me, said, even if you're struggling with your beliefs at all, whatever it is that's out there. This was a friend of mine who helped me along my journey. And he started his journey by saying, whatever it is that's out there, I'm surrendering to you. I give all the power to you. He didn't belong to any denomination, any specific faith, but on these walks, in his quiet moments of prayer, whatever it is that's out there, I surrender to you. You're in charge, not me.
Mm-hmm.
And surrendering doesn't mean like getting down on,
Sure.
giving up your whole life.
That's right.
Surrendering is just putting your faith into something that's greater than you.
Yeah.
I always like the example of electricity. We're all completely dependent upon electricity.
Mm-hmm.
My whole life is dependent upon this whole podcast we're shooting right now is dependent upon the electricity in that camera and the electricity in these microphones to work.
Right.
And the more I depend on them and trust on them, the more free I am to do more things. And I've found that to be very beneficial.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think it just evolves, and this journey evolves for all of us in our own ways. And I'm not open to anything anymore.
You mean closed to anything?
That's right. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. I'm not open to anything. Yeah. No, I'm definitely not closed off to anything. And so it's
open-mindedness and willingness is the key, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's what can open the door. Say, the first thing that worked for me was when I recognized that what I was doing wasn't working.
Sure.
This is not working.
Yeah.
I'm miserable. And I don't want to be miserable for the rest of my life. I've got to come up with something else.
Yeah.
Those are looking pretty close to done, aren't they?
I think they're good.
Okay. So we're going to pause the cameras now and just get these things in and let them rest for a little bit before we mow down.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you on the other side.
I love it.
Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm back with Kris Phippen here. We have just finished enjoying a beautiful ribeye steak with the Phlippen best ever hot sauce. I don't know. Is that the actual name?
No, but it was delicious.
I have never put a sweet hot sauce with my steak before, but it was awesome. Now the steak was really buttery because it's a 28-day, and there's a hint of acidity in that hot sauce you've made.
Yeah. That
just sort of elevated it. I just loved it. I thought it was so good.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
I've got a new combination from now on. I like my steak with just a little bit of Phlippen hot sauce. No Tabasco here. None of that.
Yeah.
None of that burn your brain.
Yeah.
I just, a little bit of heat on there just to elevate a little acidity to cut the fat. It was perfect.
Yeah. Love it. We
add that to the recipe box.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're willing to do it, I know a lot of, older, Kitchener is a good place for that, right? Like just meat and potatoes, is kind of Kitchener, and we're far from that now. But even some of the older guys that are like, I would never put anything on my steak or whatever, and they're buying it. It's really cool to see.
It's something that's one of my comments. I've lived here 17 years, but I came from Toronto, and I worked at the time in an industry where I got to dine in the finest restaurants in the whole city of Toronto. And when Poppy and I moved here, that was one of the things that was hard to get used to, was the lack of really great dining establishments in this city. It's always been sort of very utilitarian.
Sure.
We're workers. We need to work because it's fuel, and we need to eat because it's fuel, and so we can get back to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not interested in dining as an experience.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy how it's changed for sure, because there seems to be just new restaurants popping up every day, and 100 of the same even. So, and they're still busy. So.
Everybody's dining out, but I'm always looking for great places to go and enjoy my food. We do have a couple barbecue establishments in the city, a couple places focusing on meats. Anybody featuring your sauces right now?
No, we've done some stuff with Lancaster before. That was really fun. More like around Christmas time and Father's Day and stuff like that.
I like that place, but quite honestly, you can't even get in anymore.
Yeah, you gotta know somebody, I guess. No, I like it. It was it's funny. What a long time ago, I always had this thing in my head where whoever opened up a barbecue joint in KW would do extremely well. And I think, they started out with a trailer and, then 2 trailers, then into the restaurant. And
yeah, we used to go when it
really
was
cool.
hogtails.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Up in the north end of the city.
Yeah. 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 I love that. And, it was really cool to watch them grow and just, they become the barbecue place, in Kitchener. I remember Pioneer Barbecue, but I don't think Pioneer Barbecue even had barbecue, right?
Was there any barbecue at Pioneer Barbecue?
I don't know. It wasn't before my time, but it was out of my wheelhouse, so to speak. I don't know if I ever went to Pioneer Barbecue, but a lot of older guys like in Toronto and stuff, when they talked about Kitchener, they asked about Pioneer Barbecue, and I guess
it was right off the highway, so it was easy to get to.
Yeah, that's right. We went to Binghamton's one time. I was working with them on some stuff, and they actually have these old massive pits that were like from the original charcoal or something in that family. I think it was the Weidmans, and they used to do like chip beef or like these big hips of beef. Mm-hmm. But they have those grills out at Binghamton's, and like they're 2 of these couches put together each long.
I've seen them.
Yeah, they're right. They're
beautiful.
Cool. Now,
big grills.
I got to convince Amy to throw those somewhere in the mix. But
now, I do think, for the record, I've always thought that the Weidmans do a great job at hospitality. Mm-hmm. The service at the charcoal group of restaurants is always top notch. You're always treated very well. Jody Palubisky is their general manager, and he always talks about the fact that there's 24 touch points before anybody even gets food, mm-hmm. Where they want to make sure the door looks perfect. There's nice flowers. You're greeted within a minute. Like, they really take things seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that's important, like, there's so many restaurants, there's so many places to go and eat now. And I look at it the same as the sauce is what makes that experience different. And who are you supporting, and who do you want to buy that product from, right? And
exactly, yeah.
The world's taking a big shift. I really know it, like this year especially. I've been doing it for 7 years, but this year was the year where everybody kind of just is like, people want to see behind the scenes. They want to meet the family. They want to meet the realness. And I think,
after you go on social media in your underwear.
Yeah, that'll get it. That's pretty real.
People are going to want to know more.
Yeah, there's no hiding. But in regards to that, it was kind of just this thing. It was, if I do that, like what more can't you show, and how much vulnerability do you have left? Like, this is the worst thing, not the worst thing. It's like the best worst thing that you can do, because there's nothing left.
There's nothing.
And it's like, I think about, going away on a holiday or swimming or whatever, and you're like, self-conscious. I'm a big jacked guy and whatever. And it's like, oh, they might see me, but they're not looking at me. And you think everybody might be looking at you, but they're not. But then you put it out there. There's no scrolling. There's no nothing. It's just there. And it's like, okay, well, you know what? There it is. And here I am. And this is how real not only, the product is, but this is the brand, and this is me. And here you go.
Well, it's interesting because I couldn't help but thinking when we're talking about that, you made yourself very vulnerable, and you've done that on purpose online to be a blank slate. Now, when I'm not doing podcasts, I do work as a financial advisor. I own a company called Climb Financial. I love helping people with money. And it's funny, finance is somewhere where people are extremely afraid to talk about. It's a conversation a lot of people just want to avoid.
Sure.
Many years ago, I used to actually give a seminar for marriage preparation for the Catholic Church. So I was invited to come in and speak to these people getting ready to get married. And I would make jokes. I would say, there's a strong possibility that you guys have seen each other's naked bodies, but you probably haven't seen each other's tax returns. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's because we're not, for some reason, that's also a very taboo topic to talk about. But I think the more we discuss money, the more we discuss finance, the more we have difficult conversations in general, the better off our overall mental health is, because don't we build up monsters?
Yeah.
Don't we take something small and turn it into this giant monster that we have to be afraid of?
Sure. And I think that was, that's the culture for me, dropping out of high school and doing these things, and this, it was my dad that said, like, this is the school of black and blue. And when I was, coming into the workforce, it was like, I didn't have the high school diploma, I didn't have college or university. And at that time, like, that was a crucial piece of paper to have. I streaked my commencement and me and another buddy, and it's really funny because I've gone onto my journey, and now, the teachers and the people in the community that knew that I did that and wasn't going anywhere, with my life, and was kind of class clowny. The other guy that did it with me, unfortunately, one's passed away, but one is the CEO of a massive hundreds of millions of dollar, brand, and I'm working towards that myself. So it's interesting to see, and I think that just adds back to the humility and what you've gone through, and knowing that you got to fight through, and you got to go through the school of black and blue, because that experience will outweigh, a lot. And I think that's how I, was able to kind of keep working myself up with that experience. And
there's really something to getting through.
That's right.
Overcoming the obstacle, experiencing it, living it, slaying the dragon.
Yeah. And I'm far from slaying it. And I think it's funny when you sit back, and when I said at the beginning was, it was about what stores I'm in, and they reordered, and let's show that, and this is how many boxes we're getting out in a day. Like, who gives a rat's ass? Like, that means nothing. It's more, for me, it was about, this is real. We're not out here saying we're millions of dollars and we're this and we're that and we're bigger than this has just been real, and people have just had a perception because they see the face, they see the jars in the grocery store, maybe, that things that have just made it, and that is not the case. We're in year 7 and finally building a team, and finally, getting the right people at the table where we can move forward, because this has all been done with nothing.
The dragon I'm speaking of that you have slayed is the dragon of fear, the fear of even getting started.
Yeah.
90%, more than 90% of people struggle to even take the leap. That's the one I'm talking about. Regardless of whether you make it to 1 million, 10 million, 100 million,
sure,
you took the leap. And that's the dragon of fear that holds so many of us back.
Yeah. It was hard at the beginning, obviously. Like, I left I left, 100+ grand salary, never thought I would make that in my life, kind of just the way I had to fight through these things. And, I was almost at a 200 mark to walk away from that and literally get nothing, and haven't got a paycheck since. And, it's interesting to see what you go through, how hard you work, what you'll put yourself through, what limits you'll push, what you can show yourself that you can fight through to get to whatever the end is. But we don't know what the end is. I don't,
No, it's the journey, but that isn't what matters. What matters is the journey.
You're right.
And like I said, I love what you're doing. This is, you've burned the boats, as they would say, right? When you had that $190,000 salary, okay, you were making good money, you had the toys, but you had zero freedom. And life is this huge balance between security and freedom, and freedom. And we've got to find it, because I would say the most secure place in the world, you get 3 square meals a day, you've got a roof over your head every single night, but that's a maximum security prison. You've got zero freedom. Now, on the opposite side, if you live out in the wilderness, and you live in a cave or what have you, that's the ultimate in freedom.
Yeah,
but you've got zero security. You could be eaten by another animal at any given moment. You could die of disease. There's a million ways you can die.
Sure.
So no one wants, very few people at least want extreme freedom, and no one wants extreme security. The trick is finding that balance that works for all of us. Some people can find that balance some people prefer more security, and they get that through their work, through their employer, and I don't discredit them at all. People like you and I think we crave a little more freedom, and we're willing to sacrifice that security.
Yeah.
Like, you might have to work 18-hour days now, but when you do it, you're doing it for you.
Yeah. And that's the difference. I think when you look at it from a sales standpoint, if you're good at sales, you can sell everything and anything, and
As long as you believe in it,
if you
right?
believe in it. And it's like, why I believe in a million things, but I believe in myself more than anything, or I'm getting to that point anyways where I can believe in myself more. And I think, the jobs that I've had to get to where I got to, again, they're all these roads that you take, and it's what you take away from them. And really now at 47, I'm looking back and seeing, like, my dad kicked me out when I was 15, and I was out on the oil rigs at 16, and I've done these things. I've been there. I've been kicked out of my house. I've been through it all. And at the end of the day, it's just, it's without the challenge piece, and with peace comes comfortability, and a comfortability that I don't really want, because I don't want to get comfortable. I'd rather be behind the 8 ball like I have been kind of my whole life, and just have this little chip on my shoulder, but turn that into an FU, look at me, I made it, into showing myself that chip on my shoulder, the naysayers, the doubters, they're the ones watching more than anybody now to see what we're doing. And
Now, I think that's great. And get uncomfortable, stay uncomfortable. Something that I push all the time. I fully agree. But I am curious. Lost my train of thought here. Oh, do you find satisfaction? Have you found joy? Fulfillment. There's the word I'm looking for, because Tony Robbins always says this, and I'm a big Tony fan. And he always says, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure.
mm,
Have you been able to find fulfillment in this?
well, to be honest, it wasn't, when you asked at the beginning kind of how'd you get into these stores, and it's not easy. Well, that was the easiest thing for me to do. It was just, hey, I have a great product. It's a great brand. It fits here. It's local. That to me wasn't challenging. It was, what point can I get to where I'm just not selling sauce? Because that to me is easy. It's when I figured out the purpose for the brand, and that I was helping others, and that fulfillment just completely took over the direction and where I wanted to be. And so, like, I was able to say, okay, you know what, like, pull out a Loblaws, because I don't care who is looking at me and say, you made it, you're in Loblaws and whatever. But it's like, that's fine, but that's just volume of product and sales. And again, it's like, I can restructure this 1,000 times. People are still going to buy the product, and the sauce is easy. But what makes us different, and why is Phlippens different? And when it's like, we're not this, we're not that, we're not that. Well, what are you? Well, it's Phlippens. Like, I made that. This is my journey. This is my story. I can't lose when it's my own story. It's my own journey. It's my own recipe. It's my own everything. So you can't say, well, this one's better than this. Well, like, compared to what? There isn't this. So I have this. There's only one. And it's like, don't talk about this and don't talk about that. Well, that is fine, but that's not your journey. This is my journey. And if I know that I'm helping people, and you're working at a big corporate company that wouldn't dare talk about mental health unless it's, mental health month, and you get one day out of that, and it's Bell.
This is your day to be off.
Like, you're allowed to talk about mental health because Bell, it's Bell Let's Talk Day, and let's all get behind that and pour money in there. Well, like, I do that. I do this every day. And to think that the people with the biggest platform, the biggest reach, the biggest pockets are the ones that would never talk about it. And how many of your employees are struggling, and how many people would respect you more for understanding, the mental health side, or put things in place to help, or build a culture around it. And what can we do to help? But I think it's taking a turn more than not, but not at any rate of what we need. I mean, the numbers, if you look at men and mental health and suicide and all the things that come with it, they're astronomical and almost unbelievable numbers. Like, by the minute, by the hour, these numbers are down to, and it is.
So what's your message to these guys?
It's the same message that I get, and it's the keep going. It's, you're not alone.
No.
you're not, because the guy next to you, that he's just hiding it better. And I really think that, the guy with all the money, the guy with the cottage, the guy with all the things, he's miserable. He's still sitting in a parking lot for 20 minutes before he's going home to just know what he has to face when he walks in the door. And maybe he owes millions of dollars on all these fancy things that he needs. That's his own shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted that so badly, because it was like from nothing to like, how do I get to 100 grand? I need 100 grand because I know my friends are doing this and they all went to school, and I gotta make that 100 grand. Well, I was making more than all these guys that were doing that stuff. But it was just like, for what? I was miserable. And my daughter saw me miserable, and I was like leaving on Father's Day to sit in an airport with other miserable guys. And then it's free booze, and the more points you get, the more free booze you get. And the bigger the client, the bigger the bar bill, right? And it was just, and I'm out there selling, drug and alcohol programs with HR, and HR are the biggest party animals you ever seen, because they get to take their hat off. And anyways, it's really interesting to see.
Well, you bring up a couple of really interesting points that I think are important, that I talk to people about all the time. And one is happiness is an inside job. Happiness isn't out here.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness is not a new car. Happiness is not a destination. It's not I'll be happy when, I'll be happy if. It's not one of those. I have to find ways in order to find serenity and happiness within the 6 inches between my ears. It's in my head.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite lines is comparison is the thief of happiness. So it's exactly like you said, what you see somebody out there and you think, oh, look, he's got that car, he's got that cottage, he's got that family, blah, blah, blah. He's got shit. You have no idea. You don't know what he's going through. You don't know what it's like to live his life.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it's like to be Kris Phippen, and you got no idea what it's like to be Matt Graham.
Yeah.
But what I like is what both of us agree upon is there are times and spaces to admit vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's okay to say I'm not okay.
Mm.
It's okay. I say I'm not okay today. I like that. You ever listen to Jelly Roll? He's like, I'm not okay, but it's all going to be all right.
Yeah.
Some days it's like that.
Yeah.
Today I'm not okay, but as long as I can make it to tomorrow, I got a shot.
And it has. And this is, I love sharing this journey, and like I love being on the journey more than anything, when there's purpose and the fulfillment that comes with it, because the more that I go through this and I don't quit, it just helps more people, because it builds my confidence to keep going myself. And that's every day, where like I wanted to quit and should have quit. And if you're my financial advisor, I'm sure you would have told me to hang this up 5 years ago. But I mean, it's like, I know what I have. I know what everybody says about the product. I know what everybody says about the branding, and that's all fine. And when you ask me, have I found happiness or fulfillment? It's like, it hasn't been, because I always looked at it and said, I'm not here. I don't have the house. Like it's not me that sacrifices. It's my family is taking the sacrifice. I have a granddaughter that I want to spoil like crazy. I want all these things, but it's just, I feel like I'm teaching them way more.
Oh, the lessons that you're giving them by doing this are, as long as they're involved, as long as you're keeping them involved in your life.
Yeah.
These lessons are far more important than any toy or outing could, excursion that you could ever provide.
Yeah. And like you said, like when those walls, when I get home, I'm finally happy. When I was making all the money and it was like an empty shell of a house, and it was just like, oh, like how quick can I make an old fashioned, or whatever the fancy drink was that you should be drinking when you make money. But for me, it was just like, now it's like, okay, I of course I want a cottage, because I want my kids and my grandkid and whatever to be at the cottage and play and have the experience that I had. but it's not, I don't need it. I don't need it to say, hey, we got a cottage, come and look at that. You know,
No.
it's a bit.
If you're already happy,
that's right.
You'll be happier at the cottage, but you got to be happy first. Because if you're miserable, you'll be miserable at the cottage.
Just like the bigger house or the vehicle or whatever. And I'm truly learning that as every day goes on with this journey. And, you know, it's like getting sober or any of the other things that you kind of touched on is like, just, if you just make it to tomorrow, like you have no idea. And like yesterday just doesn't matter. Right.
No.
And it's all about tomorrow. And you kept going. And it's like, I think about this past winter, just quickly, it was a tough one. We sold the restaurant in November, kind of worked something out where it was like, it wasn't like this huge lump sum of money that we could like take a break, but it was, the sauce had started to not have all my attention. And it was just, this winter, I think for whatever reason was really hard on a lot of people. But if I would have quit in the winter when I told myself 1,000 times to quit, and then all of a sudden you come out and it was support local, buy Canadian, all these things happen, that big shift. But if I would have quit, I would have sat back and watched that and had the regret and like, why did you quit? Because I had no reason to quit, just because it was hard, but like the hardest of the hard. And I'm like, I didn't go back to drinking. I didn't go back to doing anything that I was just looking for this out. You have this little voice that's like, oh, just get like dusted up one more time and everything will be good and whatever. But it doesn't work like that. I'm learning, and every day that I keep pushing, something better happens, which is now the fulfillment, now feeling happy, now feeling proud, because I haven't felt that. Even though everybody looks at Phlippens and go, oh my God, like, can't believe you did this and you're doing that and you're an inspiration and whatever. Well, I'm crippled half the time because I don't feel that yet.
Have you ever tried practicing gratitude?
Amy is very, very much so the pusher of the gratitude, and I'm writing that every morning. 5 things that I'm grateful for, and it's come down to these simple things. And if we could all just get to that, it's like your family, yourself, your health. You're just doing the work, and you feel good about it, and whatever happens. But at least I did the work.
I told you earlier when we were at the barbecue, I was talking about how I go for walks every morning, and that's how I go to get my head ready for the day, to be proactive. Gratitude's a big part of that. And it's funny because there are some days it's really hard to be grateful. You got a million challenges you're facing, and it's hard for me to see those things. And so I'll share one of my little life hacks, one of my little secrets. When I'm struggling to be grateful, I start with my socks. I say to myself, I'm grateful I got socks. Not everybody in this world can even have socks. I got so many socks that they're overflowing out of my drawer sometimes, and they keep my feet warm. And I'm grateful that I got shoes. I get to put shoes on my feet. There's a lot of people who don't even have shoes. I've got 4 pairs of shoes. How lucky am I? I'm grateful I got pants. I got pants that keep my legs warm and protected. There's some people, they don't even have pants. They might only have a pair of shorts. And then I build, and I can build, and I build from there. And then you can get to the point where you say, I'm grateful for this family. I'm grateful for these challenges I'm facing. But it's tough to start. Sometimes it's really tough to say, oh, I'm grateful that I'm getting my ass kicked by this in this ballot challenge that I'm facing right now. So I don't start there. Like I said, I start really small with my socks. So if you're ever facing a challenge, that's my recommendation to anybody that's out there.
Absolutely. I love that, because there are those moments where I have to step back. And when I got here today, it's like, oh, I was standing at the smoker and had all these onions going and whatever. I mean, like, guys would kill for that job. Like, that was my job today. I stood at a smoker. I played with wood and fire. Then I came here and ate a steak. And I mean, this is the work. I mean,
yeah, this is what we call work.
Pretty grateful.
And this is something to be grateful for, because the problems we face today were our dreams just a few short years ago. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to make sure before we end this today, is there anything else that you think the people, for starters, I want to know before I say that, where do you think Phlippens is headed over the next 2 to 3 years?
We are going on a Phlippen takeover.
A crazy Phlippen takeover.
Yeah, it's happening. So we scaled big, learned, stepped back, and now we're on the big trajectory to make this a thing. And I think now with purpose, and now with the things, and building the brand around purpose is becoming just that much more exciting now to spread that and use our platform to to create these conversations. So.
Awesome. And is there anything else that you think people should know about you, your family, your brand that we might not have talked about today? We've been pretty thorough.
We've been pretty thorough. I can add one fun story on the keep going or the life's too short piece. My girlfriend and I in high school had our daughter. She was 16, I was 17. We were together for about a year. We went our separate ways, kind of had our own lives for X amount of years, and 23 years to be exact. Our daughter informed us that we were going to be grandparents. We met at one of her ultrasound appointments, and as luck may have it, sparks flew. We got back together after 24 years. So
wow.
High school sweetheart, and put the past behind us and take that as a learn. And now we're grandparents together, and we're a family, and it's really, really awesome. Yeah, it's good.
Keep going one day at a time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. That's a great story, Kris. Thanks. Listen, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today. I've had a lot of fun cooking with you and talking. Again, it's Phlippen it's Phlippen naturally smoked and handcrafted sauces.
Yeah.
Hot, sweet with heat, jerk. What other flavors am I missing?
So we got original, hot, sweet heat, jerk. And that is all in order of how they came out to the world.
Well, they're flipping awesome, especially a little bit of the flipping hot with your ribeye. Let me tell you, it's worth the trip. Now, those chicken breasts that we originally put on, they're officially done. So we're going to go and enjoy a little bit of chicken breast. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. I hope you have a great week. This is the King and Weaver podcast. Check it out.